Welcome back to another episode of the No Rain, No Rainbows podcast. So glad you're joining us. If this is your first time listening, first, thank you for your time. Secondly, this is a podcast about getting through your hard times. Life is hard, but it's worth the squeeze. We're all going to have those storms here and there, but we promise it's worth it. Eventually, you'll get to your sunshine and your rainbows, and you'll live your best life. And we're all about finding some tactics and some stories and sharing some people who can maybe help you get through your hard times. So that is the goal of this podcast, helping you get through your hard times. And joining me today, somebody who knows about potential and pulling it out of not just people, but businesses as well. I'm really excited for this episode. We're joined by Terry Palma. We were just talking about before, not to be confused with Palmer, the Arnold Palmer that some people might drink. Terry, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Ted.
I know you're with Multi-Channel Media. And I guess really quick for our listeners that are listening, why not introduce yourself, let them know how you came about to Greenville, South Carolina, and what it is you do.
Very good. Well, about October of 1987, I was hired by Furman University to be the men and women's swim coach.
Yeah.
And so I was very excited to get back into collegiate swimming. I had swam as a collegiate swimmer at UCLA. And I had been coaching in the Culver City area. And then I had taken time off. So this was an opportunity to get back into something I loved, and the opportunity came, and that's how I got here. So I stayed with Furman for about 2 seasons, I think it was, and then they decided to drop their swim program. So my wife and I, we loved Greenville, and we started a family here. So I started a swim club. It turned into what's called Team Greenville now, which is one of the larger teams in South Carolina.
Wow.
In fact, they just won the long course state championships,
nice.
I believe. So they've carried on, and they're doing very well. And then I coached some high school. I did coach Greenville High for about 10 seasons. My children went to Greenville High, so they were soccer players, but I made them swim too because of the conditioning. And so then after I retired, I always had a desire. I didn't want to not do something. So I enjoyed marketing. I enjoyed researching marketing and helping people. Like in swimming, I really enjoyed helping someone get from where they were to a place that they wanted to be, whether that was an Olympics or that was just to make the state meet. They always were improving. So my goal was to help our local community in the business areas and help them improve or do what they want with their businesses. Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm doing today. I started a new company, Multi-Channel Media. Was really started years ago, but it officially started in December of 2018.
Love it. And we're going to be unpacking a lot of kind of what you're doing now, but kind of going back through coaching swimming and being a swimmer yourself. I know through our conversations that we've had, you've mentioned on how you love, pulling the potential out of people and coaching that. And I guess in the swimming aspect, but relating it to the real world, when you have these young athletes that came under you and you started coaching them, what were some of the systems or some of the things you kind of implemented with them to help them get to their potential? That's
a great question. Well, first, I think technique is important because it doesn't do any good to do a lot of training in the pool hour-wise or yardage-wise if your stroke techniques aren't efficient. Mm-hmm. So we worked even at the higher levels, every day we made sure our strokes were efficient and proper. And then once you go from there, then it's a matter of taking the individual athlete, even though they're fixed in a group, try and develop systems that help each individual person. I'll give you an example. We ran 3 systems in our weekly program. We swam 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And the first one was anaerobic threshold. And basically, so you have all these swimmers in the pool, but we're not using a clock to time what they're doing. We're using the clock to take their pulse.
Okay.
So they'll swim a distance. They'll come in and measure their pulse for a 10-second read, and their pulse needs to be in a certain range. If it's too low, they have to swim faster the next round. If it's too high, they get to slow down, actually. So, and each person's different. So we're all doing the same practice. We might be going 2100s, but each person's doing it, coming in, taking 10 second, and adjusting their swim based on their pulse.
Wow.
We did that twice a week.
Now, what was the benefits that came about for the group and for the individual?
Well, number one, improves your anaerobic threshold, so and your oxygen intake, and you're working specifically for your body in the condition it's in at that moment.
Yeah.
So even as we do it through the season, they're getting better, and they're actually swimming faster because we do other sets. We'll time them, so we know they're getting faster, and their conditioning is improving. The anaerobic threshold really worked on conditioning.
Yeah.
But what's so neat about it is because the way we did it, it still worked on the individual. You would have been different than I would have. Yet we're both getting the benefits out of it, the best for us.
Yeah.
Even though mine would have been different than yours would have been.
I love that because I think with that system and the way you describe it, I feel like it's easy for a lot of coaches to kind of have a team and they have a layout and they say, okay, we're going to help the team. But it seemed like with this technique and this system, you were focused on the team as a whole and bettering them as a group, but you gave each and every single individual swimmer that personal attention and that personal, I guess, leg up to become better.
So that was one system we ran 2 days a week. So we're running 3 systems. So we'll run system 1 on like Monday and Thursday. We'll run system 2 on Tuesday and Friday, and we'll run system 3 on Wednesday and Saturday.
Yeah.
And we just rotate through that. So our next system we did was, since we were working on conditioning, our next one was called active rest. So we're going to give them a hard set that they're going to do, but now instead of just sitting and being non-active, the next part of that set is swim slowly and just recover while you're swimming.
Wow.
Called active rest. And then the third rounds that we would do on the other 2 days would be anaerobic, max threshold max. You're going to swim VO2 max.
Yeah.
You're going to swim as fast as you can for about 45 seconds.
Wow.
I mean, really short burst, and you have long rests. Like we'll go maybe 675s, which is not long distance, on 8 minutes.
Wow.
Rest.
Yeah.
So we're running different groups on that. So we're working on the conditioning, then we're working on active rest, how to get our bodies to recover on that, and now we're working on VO2 max, really putting the effort in getting it.
Yeah.
So those 3 systems we continue to do on a weekly basis. All through the season, this kid's improved. So I kind of brought that to business.
Yeah. I love that. And I could see how those systems and really that can apply to business and folks in the real world. Now, in your swimmers and even in some of your businesses, kind of talking about the potential and pulling it out of some of the athletes and some of the business owners that you work with. Have you ever seen an athlete or business owner get to a level of performance that they didn't themselves think they were capable of?
Oh, all the time. In fact, it's even funnier because the parents, when you're running up my system, and we also there's some other things I threw in there that nobody else does, and it's hard for them to believe it because number one, we're not doing a lot of yardage as compared to what other teams are doing, and so the parents were really doubtful in what's going on. The swimmers bought in pretty well.
Yeah.
They just bought in, they knew. But when we get to a swim meet and they're improving their times, they start getting that confidence. I remember at one point we went to the state championship and the parent said, I never thought he was going to swim that fast. I mean, you got to have faith. Now, once you've done it for a season and they know you, it's a lot easier that second year when they come back for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with it. But when you get new people, they have to go through that belief curve, trust, and what you're doing.
Yeah, they're a little skeptical at first.
And I had 3 rules, I said, these are the 3 rules that we go under, okay? If you want to talk to me about your swimmer, I'm an open book, but you have to meet these 3 rules. Number 1, is your swimmer happy? Okay? Number 2, is your swimmer improving? Okay? If you answer to both of those are yes, we don't have a third question. If one of those answers, then you can come with a third question. What's going on? What do we need to do?
Yeah.
So I didn't usually have someone ask the third question.
Yeah. Number 1 and number 2 are yes. That's all.
But because everybody wants to know, why aren't you doing what other people are doing, other teams are doing? Well, if you want what other teams are doing, go to other teams.
Yeah.
Same thing in business.
Yeah.
If you want to do what other business is doing, go do what they're doing. Follow our system, and you'll get the results that we've seen historically, year after year after year after year.
And what are some of those results? I mean, not to kind of spoil it, but I know Olympic athletes.
We'll start at the top. I've coached personally 3 gold medal Olympians, from the year of 1984 all the way through 2008 in Beijing, at some point in their career. Locally, I have dozens of state champions on all levels. And again, I didn't make them. They followed our system and they improved.
Yeah.
I had people that, most of them, I'm going to say 90% of my kids, because I'm going to leave some room, always improved from season to season. And they should.
Yeah.
Without, getting injured. That's the main thing. And in businesses should grow every year, year after year, without having downfall, even if there's a bad economy, if you're doing the right thing for your clients.
Yeah.
So, but we've had success, and I had a lot of good mentors that helped me develop these systems.
Yeah.
A lot of coaches during the time from California and other college coaches that helped me a lot.
Yeah, I love something you just said to kind of pull that out a little bit when you mentioned, the swimmers should always get better, and so should businesses, regardless of the economy. Whether the water is smooth or rough, the swimmer should be getting better in the water, and businesses doing the same thing. How do you measure the growth? Sure, with swimming, it's something as simple as a stopwatch, perhaps. How can you measure the growth of a company that might not always be higher revenue year in, year out? Maybe it's assets, maybe it's size. How do you measure success from either the swimmer to the business?
Well, one of the ways we measure it is the rate of return on their investment. So they're going to invest time and money with us for certain results. Those results are just like time for swimming. Those results will show whether that investment, that strategy, that system was working or not.
Yeah.
And we're the first to move to, the system that I had described to you was the system that I used in my last 3 to 5 years of coaching. It's not what I did over the first 30 years.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, testing and going from there. Now, I can say that I didn't know what I was doing when I was younger, but I was using some of those systems way back when one of my good swimmers, who's a 5-time Olympian, 5 Olympic Games.
Wow.
And in before our first one, we were doing very short, fast sprints to get her to be a really fast swimmer over a period of time. So, and that ended up being our VO2 max sets.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's interesting how it all came full circle.
So was it something through the years as you experimented and you just paid attention to the results and focused on how the system would give a return? Eventually you ended up coming up with, really with the blueprint of what to do. And that's something that can only come through years of
Well, I took the blueprint.
research.
Once I had the successful blueprint for swimming, I said, okay. And if you look at any successful business, look at McDonald's. Okay, McDonald's is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, literally run by teenagers. Correct?
Yeah.
And why? Because they have a system in place. All you have to do is learn the system, follow the system. There are a lot of places that serve a better burger,
Yeah.
but they don't have a better system.
Yeah.
So that's what we're striving after, a system that anybody can plug into. And if you follow it, your business is going to be successful. And if it's not working, we're the first to switch the knob. I have a chiropractor in town, local, who we tried something. I really believed in this process. It made sense to me. And it was doing what I thought it should do, but I wasn't satisfied with it. And so we shift gears, and he wasn't anywhere to be found in Google. So we instigated this new, code that we're doing, the system with Google. And within the first 48 hours, he had a listing on the first page of Google.
Wow.
Today, we're 60 days into the program, and he has 3 listings on the first page of Google. So we know that's working. We want to continue to work on that element and build other ones too.
Absolutely.
But it's the systems.
I love that you're mentioning systems, because just like the system, it's like the technique of the swimmer.
Yes.
And it seems as though when you're talking about potential, you're pulling out really the highest capabilities of this business or this person. You focus on the foundation. You focus on the bottom, on how it's established from the ground up.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because a swimmer, as I said, their stroke technique is important. Well, I equate that in business ethics. So if a business, and I feel, is not ethical, that means their strokes aren't good.
Okay.
And either they're going to change that and let me help them, or I won't work with them.
Yeah.
Where in swimming, they're all willing to do that. So that, the same principles working from the ground up works in business. But you have to have your client that you're serving first in mind, not your bottom line in your pocketbook.
Yeah.
If you do it right for your client, your pocketbook will be taken care of. And that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, and I hear how you kind of match the coaching and the swimming to the businesses so well. How did you go from coaching swimming? You mentioned that there was a little bit of a retirement, but you needed to do something. So how did you land into what you're doing now in building businesses? Was that always something that itched you?
It was always something I was involved in and doing, whether I was working for somebody else, and I've done a lot of things. Like in swimming, I've tried a lot of strokes, and I finally found one that worked for me.
Yeah.
So when I say I started multi-channel media in December, it's been a 20-year process of finding what I felt good in working with. I used to do social media or, other things that I did. And I wasn't. What I'm really good at is bringing the team together. So I own the business, okay? I go out and market our services to businesses. I don't fulfill most of what I do. I find the best in the field that join my team because I want the best. And that's why I back what I do on my services. If you're not happy, I don't do a long-term contract. And on the Google first page, if you're not on the first page in Google in the first 30 days, you don't pay again until you are.
Yeah.
So, but I know my team.
Yeah.
My team's really good.
Yeah.
And I trust them. And then my clients trust me. So that's kind of how the swimming and business work together.
Yeah, and as somebody who's dealt with some of the most talented and skilled swimmers, you probably have an eye for talent and you have an eye for potential businesses. I guess what are some things you look for in an ideal business or kind of when you have a swimmer come in, you say, oh, this swimmer has potential.
Right. Perfect. So here's the analogy from swimming and business. You can get a great swimmer, very talented, but if they don't want to put in the work and the time, they're going to be a great talent that could have been. And I've had several of those swimmers. And I let them know. I don't push them beyond. I say, we don't know how good you really could be. You have potential.
Yeah.
I had a lot of those swimmers. Luckily, when they all went on to college, they all swam faster and better because I didn't burn them out before they got there. So in business, it's the same way. You've got to spend money in advertising. Advertising is the king. Referral marketing is obviously the best.
Yeah.
But how are you going to spend your time referral marketing? You've got to go after a warm market, but maybe on Facebook with your Facebook page, or a cold market with Google or whatever. But you have to be spending money. So the equivalent of finding a talent in swimmer, that's finding a great business that has a good business model and a good service to do.
Yeah.
The swimmer's ready to put in the work and willing to put in the work. Is the business ready to spend the money?
Yeah.
That's really the factor.
Yeah.
But you have to have matrix. You can't just go spend money and hope that it happens. You have to make sure that what you spend. If I spend $1 in advertising, I want $2 back on return on my investment. Well, would you give me $1 if I gave you $2?
Absolutely.
How often would you do that?
Every day.
Right. We want
until I have more dollars to give.
Exactly. So, but that's the equivalent of a great, talented swimmer and putting in the work, and a business with a good service, good ethics, and they'll put money into it to grow.
Yeah.
Those are the same things.
Well, as a swimmer who would most likely first start seeing the results when their time goes faster, I imagine they'd put a little bit more trust in your system, just like the parents being a little skeptical at first.
Right.
Would you see the same kind of pattern with the business?
Well, that's why we have that 30-day guarantee in there.
Yeah.
For that one service, and we give a lot of bonuses. It's like when you came to swim for me, you got a lot of bonuses that other teams didn't get because I had a special little thing that everybody did and used, which I guarantee 99.9% of the teams don't use.
Yeah.
Well, they got that with me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when they come to me, we build them an app, and it's included in the service price.
Yeah.
And that app's strictly for reviews, where reviews are automatic. You don't have to go hunt for reviews. You get reviews like that.
Yeah.
So those are the bonuses that we add into our training,
Yeah.
to our packages and stuff.
All right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It certainly does. And I guess when companies start seeing the benefits and they see I don't want to say special treatment, because it's not like you're treating one client special over anyone else, but when they see the attention and the commitment,
Right.
I think that can help them move forward.
I know we're running close to time. I'd like to mention one thing that there's my partner
Sure.
and I are starting what we call the TAZ.
Yeah.
Or TAZ. It's called the Alliance Zone. And what it is we're trying to bring local businesses together that will become an alliance, just like other alliances. And that pool will help us in their business as well as every other business, and make it affordable so they can join and have all of these services available to them, rather than being gouged by other companies out there.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm looking forward to launching here very soon. And we're going to launch it here in the Greenville market, in the Phoenix market, and the Chicago market, because that's where we have connections.
Absolutely. And I love that. I love the whole really idea over that, because most people think with business is competition, right? It's competition. But what I get from you is when you talk about a team and gathering people together, or even in our conversations, how can I help you? Because you have this, I sense almost a passion of helping others. Where does that come from? Where does that what joy do you get in seeing a swimmer get their fastest time ever, or a business owner calling you saying, Terry, I couldn't get on Google. Now I have three links on the first page.
Yeah. It's just innate. I can't really tell you. I mean, my parents, I'm an only child, so I was spoiled.
Yeah.
And I was taken care of and loved. And so I think that transfers to me trying to spoil and help other people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I take every client personal, and I feel bad if they're not successful. And so I think that's where it comes from, just innate within me to do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of listeners that are kind of tuned in right now that would love to be spoiled and things like that. Terry, how can folks reach out to you and maybe get into contact with you and learn more about what you do?
Well, that's good. They can check me out on LinkedIn, Terry Palma, and then also Multi-Channel Media, have a Facebook page, and then a phone number they could call if they'd like to is 864-999-3008. Okay. And you'll get a message. That's a message service for me, but I return calls immediately on that.
Wonderful. And I'm going to have all that linked and all the information in the show notes for people to get to. And the name of the show is called No Rain, No Rainbows. We get through our rain. What are the rainbows you're chasing in life? What are some of the sunshines and the goals that you're currently chasing?
Well, I'm 70, so most of my rainbows I've already fulfilled.
Okay.
Basically, I'm trying to leave a legacy for my 4 kids, and that's every day I get up is a good day.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people could resonate with that, because, as you mentioned, with the program you've built and the swimming team that you built for Greenville, and the fact where you still have their accolades and you can see something after you've kind of passed it on, the legacy continues. So I think for a lot of us, all we want in life is to build something that's going to outlast us, right?
Yes.
A legacy, and seeing the success in others, I think, is something that naturally feels good to all of us.
Right.
We love to help each other out.
Ted, I want to thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
You're a great host.
Terry, it's
your
my
format's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's my alarm. I'm actually getting ready to drive the girlfriend to the airport.
There you go.
This is going to be airing a couple weeks down the line, so she's already listening to this wherever she's at. But Terry, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and I feel as if this is just the first of multiple chapters
Great.
that we're going to be having together.
And if I can do anything for your show or help in any way, don't hesitate to ask. I'd be happy to do that.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that, and I do hope that our listeners take advantage of some of the services that you provide. And again, in the show notes, we'll have the link for folks to get to all of that.
Great.
But Terry,
Thanks,
thank you so much
Ted,
for
I
taking the
appreciate it.
time
Yep.
to be on the show. And we always end the show like this. Everybody wants the sunshine, but they don't want the rain. But you can't get the pleasure without a little pain. Let's grow.